Hey, welcome to the Strong Roots podcast. My name is Kristin Hill, and we are so excited that you're tuning in today. Our prayer is that you would move one step closer to Jesus through this series. So go ahead and check out this next episode. Hey, Strong Roots, we are in our Godly Belief season, and I'm here with Beau Tauber, and we are going to talk about having fun versus having purpose. And I was really excited to ask Beau to do this because I know that you lived a lot of your life apart from God. And you have truly started living on mission and on purpose for Christ and his kingdom. And it's really inspiring. So I'm excited for everyone to learn from you today. So thank you for being willing to do this.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh my goodness, it's an honor. So I'm going to go right to the questions, Beau. So how did you spend your life living for fun, and what consequences did you experience from that lifestyle?
Yeah, so I think for me it started in high school, like a lot of people, just social partying, a little bit of drinking here and there. And then as I got into like my early 20s, it kind of evolved into a habit to where I was like always seeking the next fun thing, always wanting just to, have a crazy party or get drunk. It was like, got to the point to where it was pretty much every weekend, Friday, Saturday, some days during the week. Mm-hmm. And then as far as consequences, I mean, it's pretty obvious. You're hungover a lot of the time.
Right.
It starts to damage relationships, things like that.
Absolutely. In the moment, did you recognize the consequences, or were you blind to them, do you feel like?
I think you do. Obviously, you're going to be hungover.
Yeah.
I think you just go along with like what everybody else is doing, what the world is doing. You don't think too much about it. Yeah, I don't know. I for a long time I thought that I wanted to change it, but I just thought, it's kind of normal.
Right. And was fun your main objective when you were doing it? Was it the fun?
Yeah, I think it was the fun. I mean, yeah, it was definitely just seeking a thrill, seeking a good time.
Right.
New relationships, things like that.
And being easier and more casual probably too. Like, all right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So that being said, living life for fun, living life not on mission, like, what is our purpose, and what does the Bible say about purpose?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would say now as a Christian, our main purpose is, 1, to live in relationship with God.
Yes.
In his ways. And then 2, to go and make disciples of all nations.
Yep.
So to spread the word in whatever way that you can, whatever way that God has gifted you to.
Yeah. How does that look like in your life?
So for me, I think it's mostly leadership, like leveraging the relationships that I have with people.
Yeah.
I have a men's group, and it's really awesome to come together and kind of focus around something that is for a better purpose than just drinking and having fun.
Right.
There's something really strong there for me, for a bunch of guys.
Oh, yeah.
They're all like-minded to get together and center around God instead of just drinking or doing whatever they want. So,
how has that made your friendships better, being centered around God versus drinking or whatever?
Yeah, it absolutely has. I mean, I've had a lot of friendships that go back since middle school.
Yeah.
And, I think when you turn your life around and you stop partying and drinking and stuff, some of your relationships get harder and they might drift away.
Yep.
And some of them get stronger, and some of them you still keep, and you might, maybe work on those people.
Absolutely. And I think for some people, it takes some time to believe that you truly have changed. Like, this is just a fad, they'll be back. Or I don't really know. I've seen people give church a try, but I think there's a testament to your faithfulness to Jesus and the fact that you have been so purpose-driven. I think that is a really powerful thing to show people from your past as well, that you're not lukewarm.
Thanks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So how does current culture and media distract us from our purpose to glorify God and point us to a life of selfishness?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's everywhere. If you have any social media, whether it's Snapchat or Instagram or Facebook, there's always like some sort of temptation or sin.
Yeah.
It's always, a sexual sin, or it's, images of people partying or whatever the worldly sin is. I mean, it's and it's the same thing with TV or with radio or music. I mean, you start to notice that a lot more, I think, when you do become a Christian.
Yeah.
So it's definitely hard to get away from it.
Right.
And I think it's tough because the world is screaming a lot louder than people that are advocating for real purpose.
Right. How do you live that out? Like, how do you drown out the noise? How do you guard your heart? Like, how do you do that, practically speaking?
Yeah, it's tough. I think you have to stay in the Word. And I think the more that you're in the Word and the more that you're focusing on God, the more discernment He gives you.
Yeah.
The more that you can point things out that are convicting in your life, and you can cut away that sin or cut away something that you shouldn't have in your life.
Right. Oh, absolutely. God's Word is so powerful. And have you found that when you're not in it for, like, if life gets busy and whether it's work or whatever, and you're not, you can tell. Mm-hmm. Which people say, like, you need to be in the Word, but then when you have it, you're like, oh my goodness,
yeah.
I need to be in the Word. Have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, absolutely. And you said the word busy. That's funny. I know Pastor John just did a sermon about this a few weeks ago, but like, everybody is so busy, and there's the old adage, if the devil can't make it bad, he'll make it busy. And that's like, I feel like that's so true for so many people. Like, they don't have bad intentions. They may be Christians. They're kind of lukewarm just because they're so busy and they put so many other things before God.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it too, is just making sure that you prioritize God as something that you're not going to let drift to the side when life gets busy.
Absolutely. And it's just, it makes a world of difference. So what kind of legacy does having fun leave behind? And what kind of legacy does having purpose produce? Yeah,
so as far as living for fun, I think the legacy that leads, we kind of alluded to earlier, like, it damages your relationships. It's not good for your physical health. It's surely not good for your financial health. And you see people that live their whole life just partying or doing whatever, and there comes a point where it becomes old, or you can tell that, they didn't get it together in time. But on the other side, like, living for purpose, living God's way will bless you in so many different ways that like, I think it's hard to see until you actually start to do it.
Absolutely. And even the fruit that you produce years later. Like, you might even, I don't know if you've had seasons where you like led life group and you don't really see too much change or fruit, and then all of a sudden 2-3 years later someone says like, hey, this thing you said or did 3 years ago, and it's like, that's, looking back, it's like, wow, God really did, in that season where I was on purpose but didn't see it or feel it, He uses it. Yeah,
you never know. I mean, it's not always, I guess, I don't know, it's hard for us to gauge how God could be using something, and I think you just have to trust God.
Absolutely. And even if you can't see it now, in eternity, seeing all that He's doing throughout whatever we do for Him, right? Work as though we're working for the Lord and not for men. Oh, so good. So, Beau, how do you live your life on purpose? Like, examples, practically, like everyday life, even just waking up, work. How does that look?
Yeah, so like we said earlier, I think staying in the Word is a big one, because for me, I'll drift away and my thoughts will go elsewhere to something like boating or work or whatever, So if I don't intentionally put things in my life that bring me back to God, then I'll automatically drift away. So like for me, it's being engaged in life group. And whatever, what's right for me isn't going to be for everybody, because everybody has different skills or interests or whatever. But like the build team stuff that we do. And then of course just coming to church regularly too. Trying to insert prayer into any time that you can. I think it's great when you wake up in the morning, when you go to bed at night, whenever you're feeling stressed. So
just talking to Him. Absolutely. So for anyone listening caught in a living life for fun, what would you want to challenge them to do to shift to living a life on purpose?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would first ask them just the life that you're living now, is that what you want to be doing in 20 years? Because I think like a lot of people, like I lived for fun, not for purpose up until my mid-20s. And I surely didn't want to be living that life in my 40s.
Right.
And I think most people wouldn't, but they just kind of put off making a positive change in their life. Oh, I'll do that later.
Right.
You know, I'll straighten up later. And then some people would think that they're living fine, and maybe they would be okay with how they're living for, the next couple decades. And I would ask them if their life is fulfilling.
Yeah.
If that partying or whatever the fun is, if that's, I don't know if that's really fulfilling to them, because living a life of purpose, I think, brings a new fulfillment that you didn't know was there before.
Absolutely. And even just to try it, test it. What is taste and see that the Lord is good, right? Just try. That's so good. So I hear you have some questions for me.
Yes.
You ready to flip it?
I did have a couple.
I'm excited.
Okay, so the first one was, what is one thing that you wish you knew before you were living for God's purpose?
I think you said it really well. I wish someone would have challenged me to just pause and actually try. Just try, just go to church a couple times. But not only go to church, but take God for his word. Just try for a month. Actually do what he says. Because like you said, there's so much purpose, there's so much blessing, and there's so much truth. Because he is God and he is Lord. And I wish that, I don't know if you feel this way, but oh my goodness, I wish I would have followed Jesus and lived for purpose starting at 12. Early, as early as possible. Because it's like, God does use all things for the good of those who love him. All my mistakes, all my sinfulness, he has used. But sin does have consequences.
Yeah.
And though he paid for it and I'm washed clean, there are still earthly consequences to the things that I did. And I wish I really knew that too. That it wasn't just...
Yeah. I think when you're young, you don't really think about that as much. And I am thankful for what I've been through, because I feel like it gives me a different appreciation for living God's way.
Yep.
Because I know what it's like to be, stuck in a pattern of sin that doesn't fulfill you and makes you feel terrible.
Yep.
So.
And ultimately brings death. To relationships, to your spiritual life, to everything you were saying. Yeah. So I just resonated with everything you were saying. I was like, yes.
Good.
So do you have one more question for me?
I do. So this one's off topic. It's completely random, but I thought it would be a neat question. Just, what is your favorite book of the Bible and why?
That's a really good question. It's actually really tough, isn't it? It's okay. But I think about the book that I look forward to reading the most. And it's a total chick book, but I love Esther. I just feel like it reads like a novel. It's like, okay, here's this king and this, there's murder, there's deceit, there's someone living for God. And the fact that she lived her faith and she could have gotten killed, there's all these things about it that just inspire me to want to be bold in my faith. And I think there's a part of all of us that wants to live a great adventure. And watching this woman live a great adventure in spite of all of the trials she went through, I love that book, and I just look forward to reading it. And I wouldn't want to be here actually in real life, but I in theory I would like to be here for her faith and her godliness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. That's awesome. I'm gonna have to go back and reread it.
Yes. Well, I hope I did justice. But you have to ask. His wife's name's Bree, so you have to ask Bree if she loves it as well. Yeah, I'm curious. I might have to text her after this. But thank you, Beau, for asking such great questions. Thank you for sharing your life and your love for God and the way that he's transformed you. It's really inspiring. And I'm excited for everyone to learn from you. And I want to challenge them with your challenge. if you are living a life of fun and just pursuing that, I want you to ask the question that Beau mentioned, like, is this the life that you want to live 20 years from now? And even if your answer is yes, ask yourself the question, is it bringing you joy? Is it bringing you purpose? Are you happy with the way that life is going right now? And test God's word, try living out God's word, and taste and see that he is good. So grateful that you guys tuned in today. Excited to learn from you, excited to learn from Beau, excited to learn alongside you guys, and I cannot wait to catch you guys next time. Bye. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow us on our other social media platforms. We don't want you to miss out on any future content. Thank you so much again, guys. I hope you have a great day. And I want you to know I am personally praying that your roots stay strong.